There's a mic. Oh.
Live, it's streaming, it's doing the thing. Yeah, it is doing the thing. I just got some games. No one's watching.
Oh gosh, we need to plug in the PC.
Where's the cable for it? Wasn't plugged in to begin with?
It has a brick. It has a brick.
Yeah. Oh. Where's the brick for it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you see it?
I'm going to try it on my device. Yes, yes. It's the fight with the stream, the forever fight with the stream. So, yeah, here we go. I think it's working.
Right.
Yeah, we're good. Okay, cool. Yeah, so the usual technical difficulties with the stream. So, for those of you who don't know, we stream these meetups through YouTube. So, if you miss one of our sessions and want to go back and review, everything's captured on our YouTube page, so you can go back to it. I'll have a link to that. So, welcome. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming out on the December before Christmas. I know it's a busy time of year for people, or maybe not so busy. Sometimes things tend to slow down, but thanks for coming out regardless. We got two great speakers today. Just some opening remarks. So we are unveiling our new logo. So anybody who came to Xamarin Saturday saw like a flavor of this logo. Oh, Andrew, you grabbing the lights? Thank you. Saw a flavor of this logo as part of Xamarin Saturday. So Emily, our very talented developer designer, has reworked it into something a little more generic and a little more applicable to our monthly meetup here. So Dodge approves of it, which is always good. So we meet the third Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m. Generally, we're here at BSI Labs, but that does kind of change. Both time and location can change depending. So if you are going to plan to come out to our meetup, make sure you check the schedule online. Make sure you got the right night, got the right location. Next month is a perfect example of that. So next month, we've got a couple different events going on, but our usual meetup, it's going to be on the same night, so on the third Tuesday of the month, on January 21st, but we're going to hold it at the Microsoft Reactor space. So that's at Mars DD. We wanted to try that space out and see how it works. I know everybody's kind of like half impeded because of the monitors attached to the desks. So we're going to try the Reactor space, see how that works. And it's going to be a hands-on Xamarin 101 workshop. So basically trying to get people who haven't used the framework, hasn't actually been hands-on with Xamarin building apps, get them building their first app. Daniel and I ran this session at Xamarin Saturday. It was very well received. By the end of the day on Xamarin Saturday, we had about 14 people trained up on using Xamarin who had never touched it before. So we saw that as a big victory, and we want to do it again. Anybody who would like to help out or kind of be on the side of helping to teach that session, please let me know. Happy to have more hands. So you can connect with us at TO Mobile Devs. We are doing a bunch of moves for the rebrand. So I've got our nice 90s under construction GIF up there. We're hoping to get this done and wrapped up relatively shortly, so bear with us. But if you do kind of move around the site, you will be able to find everything you need. In the meantime, big thanks to our sponsor, BSI Labs. So BSI Labs can, well, first of all, they provide the space, they provide food, and a bunch of BSI Labs staff helps run the event. So big thank you to BSI Labs. BSI Labs is a full-service enterprise mobile development shop, providing technical consulting, mobile strategy, and they can help you accelerate your mobile development project. So you can find them at @BSI_labs on Twitter and at bsilabs.ca. And prizes. So if you've been to previous meetups, we've started incorporating a regular prize draw. We have an app that we specifically are using to gather feedback from you so we can understand if you liked the session, if you got what you expected out of the session, and then we can reward you by entering you in the prize draw once you've completed the survey. So if you can grab the app, it's called Rate the Meet. You can get it at ratethemeet.com. Links to the App Store from there. You can install that, and you'll get a notification once we publish the survey at the end of the session. Today we are giving away a Xamarin Monkey and a 1-year JetBrains subscription to any of their products. So I believe Saamer won it last month, and what did you get with it? What did you end up?
I got Rider.
Rider, nice.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Rider. If you haven't heard me talk about how great it is before.
$70, pretty good deal.
Yeah, it's great. Great free prize just for showing up. Just some quick community announcements. It's pretty quiet these days with the holiday season. Hey. So first thing is Ignite the Tour. Microsoft Ignite is their general, I think it used to be focused at IT Pro, their IT Pro focused conference, but they've kind of expanded. It really covers all their products and appeals to developers now too. They tour it around. I know it was here last year and it was very well received at Metro Convention Center. It's back again. So this is January 8th and 9th. Daniel and I will be presenting along with Emily and Andrew on Xamarin and basically trying to engage the broader Microsoft and .NET community and really helping them understand what Xamarin brings and what you can do with it. And hopefully we get some more people interested in the framework. So yeah, you can.
Do you guys need volunteers for that?
I think we're full on that one. Yeah, we had limited headcount for that.
No, that's fine. Just asking if you guys need help.
Yeah. You should come though.
Yeah. It's free to enter anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to sign up. So sign up at Ignite the Tour if you are planning on attending. I know it is. They've got it's a big venue, right? Metro Toronto Convention Center, but you still have to reserve your spot and get your ticket. Also on the Microsoft front, the Microsoft Reactor space, which we are going to be holding our next session in, is open at MarsDD. If you look at their meetup page, they basically have things going on there every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. There's all kinds of different presentations, lots of AI, lots of Azure, some .NET, lots of good mix of things. So check out what they're offering on their meetup page. Lots of good stuff going on there. Yeah, so you can find them at Microsoft Reactor Toronto on Meetup. The .NET Community Stand-Up. So this is, I keep meaning to fix this because it's not necessarily accurate. It used to be the first Thursday of every month was mobile specifically. But take a look at their schedule. Basically, every Thursday they have the .NET teams have a community stand-up where they will talk about what's going on in the broader .NET community, what the teams are working on, what's new in the space. So there's it's very information dense. They usually cover some things going on blog articles. They talk about what new features they're pushing in. They talk about roadmap, all kinds of great stuff. So be sure to check that out. All right, now on to the main event. So first up, we have Daniel, and I'll let him introduce himself. So hopefully you just plug it in and it goes.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Okay. Good. All right, guys. Hello. Merry Christmas. So you all know me, right? We've been, all of you are pretty much have been around for a while, right? I don't know if we have any new faces here. Oh, okay. Well, Army, you came like 2 years ago, I think. So this is a little bit about me. I'm a mobile dev. Work for Psi Labs. I have a blog called Causer Exception where I'm always talking about mobile dev with Saamer. Here's my Twitter as well. I'm actually also MVP right now, so Microsoft guys are crazy, going crazy.
And he worked really, really hard to get his MVP, traveled all over the world, gave all kinds of talks.
Yeah, it was awesome. It's a good 2019.
We went to Colombia.
Yeah, you too, man.
Got me with them.
So, what is build once and release everywhere, right? So I think that images and videos speak more than words. So this is basically what we're trying to do. So you can see the same app version, but we have multiple installs of the same app on an Android. And as you can see, they all have the same version, and they all point to different environments, right? This is something that is fairly out of the box with other frameworks like .NET Core API, .NET Core MVC. This type of configuration is pretty much out of the box and ready for us to use, right? However, with mobile applications, they're basically compiled zip file, right? And it's hard to tell, hey, how exactly do I release the same version of my app, and how exactly do I distribute it to different environments? So what's exactly the problem, right? Oftentimes, mobile developers place hardcode strings on code, right? So we have like a config singleton or a static class called constants or something like that. And in there, we're going to dump all of the URLs and everything that we're going to use on our app. So that's one problem. And that actually makes us to have to build our app multiple times. So if you want to deploy or distribute your app to pointing to a dev API, web API, you'd have to build your app once. And then if you want to have your app point to another environment, you have to build it again. So that, in the end of the day, just means that you can't always have the same version and distribute the same version to different environments. And at the end of the day, the app that your testers approved is not the same app that you're going to deploy to prod or to the stores, right? So our idea here is to build our app once on our build pipeline and distribute that same app, that same version, to different environments, as many environments as we want, right? How we're going to do it and which tools are we going to use? So today we're going to only be covering Android. iOS is a whole beast of its own, and I can maybe have another talk about it specifically. But for our CI and CD, we're going to be use App Center for distribution and Azure DevOps for build and release pipelines. So what exactly are the steps that we're going to have to take, right? We have to have our app to be able to have multiple configurations, right? And who here is familiar with .NET Core API or the API framework, where you can have like multiple like app settings files? Okay, so that's what we want right now, our app to be able to do. Second, we're gonna build and set one version to our app in Azure DevOps. And we're also gonna use Azure DevOps to release that app into App Center, and App Center is gonna do the distribution for us. Okay? All good? Okay, so demo time right now. I'm actually gonna cover a little bit. We're gonna see an app using this config. I'm not gonna go into the weeds of how the config is done. I'm just gonna show what we're using here. All of this code is in GitHub, open sourced, and I have links to resources that I used on how to build this stuff. So if you want to go deep into it, you can do it. It's pretty straightforward. So in our app, we have this about view model. It's the main page that you guys were seeing in the GIF that was running. Here we have like this get info task that it gets triggered by the get info command, and it just fires up HTTP request based on the endpoint that we have. So what is exactly this endpoint? So it is a static property of static constant class, but it's reading the endpoint property of the app settings manager. And the app settings manager is reading these files that we have over here. So based on the config that we have on the constant here, where we have if the app is in debug, always consume from the dev file. If not, then it just goes to unspecified, which the default of unspecified is production, right? So if we go, this is an enum, we can change it for test, prod, or dev if you want. So this is how, like, an easy way to set it up for this to be used, right? So we can change this on, these are basically just config files, and the config file is basically a JSON with a property that points to an endpoint. I showed this to Thomas earlier today. This is just a file sitting on my GitHub, and it returns a value to me, right? A value that is the name of the environment, really. And I can show you that real quickly. So this one is the dev env. So it just returns a JSON, right? So the idea here was not to hit an endpoint itself, just to mock one endpoint, which is sitting in GitHub right now. So this is how the config is being done. So we have about 3 files. One, the main app settings JSON, which holds the production configuration, a dev, and a test JSON as well. And they're all on our GitHub, right? So a developer will trigger a new build of our app, and that's where we're gonna. That's what we're gonna see now. Is the actual build step that we have over here. It's pretty straightforward. It's just a simple Android build in Azure DevOps. So I'm just gonna cover it a little bit. It's a YAML file. Now Azure DevOps supports YAML as well. They have the classic approach where you can use little tasks that will basically be, all of these steps will be like a task. What I like about YAML is that you can actually version it with your source, with your REPL. So any change you do, you get the history on your REPL. So that's good. So here we're just setting, doing some boilerplate, just setting in variables. The build configuration is going to be release because we're actually want to release this app on release mode. So then we install NuGet. We restore the NuGets on the solution of our application. Then we set the version number on the manifest, Android manifest. So the version that I am using is basically just the build number of the of Azure DevOps, the build ID, sorry. Then we actually, after changing after setting the build version, we go ahead and build the Android project, right? And here, like I'm just saying, hey, build this CS project for me. This is gonna be the output directory of the binaries, and use the build configuration that we created up here. It's release, right? Then we have our key store app. This is a file that you can generate it through the Android SDK. It basically certifies that your app is secure to be used.
Where do you place this file?
So here I have it under, I think, it's under task groups. Like you can have it on your source control too if you want.
Yeah.
I have it on my source control, but I also added it to somewhere here. That's where I'm downloading from.
From the libraries.
Possibly. It's one of these options here. Secure files. So here.
Oh, okay.
So like you can just upload files here,
Yeah.
and you can tell the Azure DevOps pipeline to download stuff from there if you want. So I'm actually telling it to download it here. Because I'm gonna use that file to sign the APK we just built with this key store here. Like password, pretty straightforward. In the workshop we had in Azure Saturday, we actually taught how to generate this file and how to distribute an app through App Center. So we're possibly going to cover that again on the next Xamarin Saturday. Possibly, I don't know. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's all in Microsoft's documentation. After that, we copy some of the files. So this file is actually part of the release step that we're gonna see in a little bit. This is the actual like shell script that we use to change the config of our APK. So we are also copying that from our source. So we're actually doing that right here, copying scripts, and we're copying the key store as well to our artifact drop folder, right? Once the build is done, it grabs all of the generated data and uploads it to a artifact folder where your release step can read from, right? So we're doing that right now. We're grabbing all the extra config files and we're copying it into this folder. Here we're also copying the APK, and then we're publishing all of the files we just copied into this artifact staging directory, right? So this is what the build is doing. Once all of these generated artifacts have been uploaded, in this case, I hooked my release pipeline to trigger automatically once a build is finished. So once the build is finished, it will call my release pipeline over here, which I have 3 different types of releases, right? I have the development, test, and production. So the release pipeline is also fairly straightforward. So when the build finishes, I publish to development and I publish to test. So the flow here is once test has been approved, you can come over here and actually approve the app to be published to production. And in this case, it's just a specific environment, but we could also publish, this is actually publishing to App Center, where we're gonna have the release, right? I'm I've been working a lot with API, so I'm just saying that this publishes to the environment, but actually no. These releases, they are running this script called repack APK, and after the script runs, we grab the final APK and upload it to App Center. So each of these releases are deploying the app to a different app on App Center. In this case, it's causer exception underline dev. We have it here for causer exception underline test, right? So we can have multiple releases using the same generated build artifact, right? Now, the key for unpacking and messing with the generated APK is this shell script. So we're actually going to go ahead and see what this shell script is all about, right? So there are a bunch of parameters that we're setting up. One is the Apk path. So this is the Apk path within Azure DevOps, right? So the environment name that we're publishing the Apk to. So this could be dev, test, whatever. This is going to be set on the release task in DevOps, right? The key store path, it can vary. Like you can have multiple key stores for different environments. Then that's something that you're going to decide if you want. The key alias is part of the whole key store thing. Like this is an alias that you're going to give to your app. The key store pass, the password that you're going to use to be able to sign your app with the file. So on the build step where we had the sign task on the YAML, this script is also going to do that. But not only that, we need some extra configurations that we're going to do. So here's just a minimum SDK version that your app support, and a Boolean that tells the script if the app is for this release to the store, right? So some echoes just to on the logs for you to find your way around for what was executed. Then we go through Homebrew and install Apk Tool. This is the tool that is going to let us manipulate the APK.
Can you explain what Homebrew is really quickly?
So Homebrew is something like chocolatey. So it's basically it's
package manager for Mac OS.
Yeah, there you go. It would be like Nougat, right? Like you can ask Homebrew software that is installable on the Mac, right? And since this is a shell script, we're using Homebrew to install some software that we're gonna use on this script, right? Right here, we're installing Apk Tool that, as I said, is gonna allow us to manipulate the APK. We're also installing XML Starlet, which will let us modify the Android manifest file because it's an XML, right? So this program basically allows us to modify XML files. Then some more, like we're copying the APK to the file, to the folder.
For XML files, can't you just use like a normal text reader or text edit program, or do you need to use XML Starlet?
You could use, you could try to like access the file and try to modify it.
Yeah.
I just find that it's simpler because there are multiple nodes on the XML that you have to modify.
Okay.
And because our APK, we did change the name of the app. We did also change the Android ID of the app to allow us to install the same app multiple times, right?
Yeah.
So this file right here, and I'm going to cover that as well. So let me open the Android manifest here. So through that script, we're going to modify the application name, the app name here, We're also gonna modify the package name that will allow us to have the same app installed multiple times. And that's, I think, the only two things that we're gonna change on the Android manifest. So moving on, like.
So the version number is changed before that?
Yeah, it's the version number is set on the build, right? You could possibly change it here as well, but it doesn't really make sense, right? You want always the same version being distributed. So right here is actually where we're messing around with the config files, right? Right at this point, we're setting the env config property over here to be app settings dot env name. So if you guys remember the convention on the configure on the config files, like they are based on the environment we're pushing it to, right? So if this script is running on dev, then the file we want to keep is the dev file, right? The dev config file. We're also like creating a zip of our APK. We're just like renaming the extension right here. We're copying the APK. We're copying the zip file into the APK path. We're renaming the APK path over here. And now we are actually decompiling our APK. Like I said, like the APK is a compiled product, and here we're using Apk tools to let us decompile that guy, so we can modify the files within the package, right?
So, just to kind of elaborate on this, the APK files, it's variable compression, which isn't like a standard, it's like a enhanced zip feature. So if you just extract it, you don't get everything. And then if you just try and rezip it, it won't be read by Android properly. So that's why this tool comes into play. And this unpacks the manifest too, right?
Yeah. So if you just try to unzip the APK file, all of the manifest, string, XML files, they will all be compiled. Like it's not readable XML, so you can't really modify it. So that's why you need Apk Tool to not only unzip the APK, but also to decompile key files that we want to modify, right? And now, like this is just a little bit of logic. So on the compilation, on the compiled APK, we're gonna have all three files over here, right? So what the script is doing, it will see what the release environment is. So in this case, we're in dev, right? So it will grab the dev file. It will delete all of the other config files, and we'll rename the appsettings.dev to appsettings.json, which will be the default config file for our APK, right? So we're doing that here. We're renaming that puppy over here. And then if this is not a Play Store release, we also change the app name and the app package name within here as well, using XML Starlet right over here. So this is where it got a little tricky for me. I still need to study the XML Starlet a little bit better. But as you can see, there's this authority name. So I'm not sure how they get generated into the Android manifest. On the raw Android manifest pre-compiling, let me see if I can open it up. Like, there's no property called authority within this file over here, pre-compilation. Once this has been compiled, then it adds like not only this authority property, but it also adds, it can add a few others, and I'm not sure how they are being generated. So for this app specifically, I'm renaming this authority property to include the environment name, so it will allow us to install multiple times. So when I say that I have to study the XML starlet better, is that I don't want to target a specific property only. I want to go in all the occurrences of that specific package name to be changed, right? So I need to study it a little better and make this like change everything, no matter what. Right now, it's only changing one property. So this might be something that you have to configure on your release pipeline. So you will have to maybe unpack your APK and open your Android manifest and see if there are more occurrences of not only the authority property, but other properties as well, right? I don't know if it's something that gets generated based on external libraries that you're using. I'm not sure. So that's one thing that we have to keep in mind. So after that, we basically repackage the APK. So we're done. We changed everything that we wanted to change. Then we use Apk Tool to repack the uncompiled files. After that, it's going to generate an unsigned APK. And the next step is to actually sign the APK with the certificate that we have. And that will make the app installable on the phones as well. After that, we also have to align the APK. It's an extra step that we struggled a bit when we were just building these scripts, right? A lot of trial and error. But then, so after this, we will have the align, the signed, and the repacked APK, and already pointing to the environment that we want. So this is just a simple task that will grab our APK that has been just modified and changed, and we'll upload it to App Center. So I actually have the apps available right now. So I don't know if you guys want to try to install them out. I'll leave this up here for a few minutes if you want to see how it's working and try to download it yourselves. This is Android only, so if you have an iPhone, you can't right now. Next time, I promise we'll have iPhone as well.
Yeah. Link to the, you said it was open source, right?
Yeah, it's all in GitHub. How can we share this? Like, I have a blog post on
You
this.
just post it in the Meetup.
I put it on the Twitter. I'll put it on Meetup as well.
Yeah, and I have a blog post as well talking about this.
Snap won't read that QR.
Won't read? What?
Hold on. I'm going to use another app. Just give me a second. I'm going to post the GitHub on.
Just use your camera. Any questions, guys? So this was really interesting to build. Me and Dylan built it for one of our clients. So before we jumped in to build this solution of CI/CD, basically, like I mentioned earlier, like every step, like every environment that they wanted to build the app for, they had to build the app one time for that, right? So it was always like a build and a release, a build and a release. And we couldn't really assure that the artifacts that at the end of the day were arriving in production were the same that were approved by the test and the QA team, right? So it was something that was kind of troublesome for us at the time.
So you guys built this out for just tackle that problem, basically?
Yeah. And we have been using it ever since.
Isn't the repack. Was it repack?
Yeah.
Basically modifying the binaries and changing the by itself.
Yeah. It is what it's doing.
So kind of you're still not achieving the goal of not modifying binaries.
Look, yeah, you're correct. And that's the challenge, right? Because we don't have like mobile products. They're not like web APIs or web pages where you have the pages over there, like web configs and app settings.configs, and you can even use Azure Key Vault to store sensitive data, right? Like we have to modify the generated APK, right? There's no way of like, well, at least I don't see right now of trying to be pure, completely 100% pure. We still have to go in and change a couple things, you know, and still like we'll be doing the same process of repacking, but we're not gonna be building the binaries again, right?
Daniel, is your app supposed to be called identity theft?
No? What are you doing, dude? What the hell?
Isn't it just safer not to have any of your constants in your app in the first place and put them in a key store and then
So yeah, that's
go with the artifact and release properly?
yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
On the config file, you're not supposed to store passwords, API keys, or anything. Why?
Like everything does, like just move everything into a key vault. Like,
Yeah.
With the URLs, wherever you want, right? And then
Yeah. So like, it's the idea is to not store any sensitive data in the app itself, right? So why exactly? Because all of this process that we did of unpacking and on decompiling the zip can also be done by whoever has your APK, right? So if you do have sensitive data in your app, like keys, passwords, and things like that, they can easily find that out, right?
what about for unsensitive data? Let's say like an endpoint like that. Isn't it just better to set all the multiple endpoints up in a different key store, for example, and then use that same drop but in different release modes? And then you wouldn't really have to do anything for decompiling. I like what you've done, but I'm just wondering, is this more needed because of the coding that was done in the app?
So at the app that we built with more info on this, with more data other than just an endpoint, we were using what was the authentication product that we were using there? MSAL, right? So we weren't really storing any sensitive data in the app. We were using OAuth, right, to grab like a token from the MSAL, and then we would be able to log in our user, right? So we can store like the token, the authentication token of our user in the sensitive, I think in iOS is the key store, on the iPhone key store, and on Android is the, what is it again?
Secure storage.
Secure storage, right? So you can't store that sensitive data within the OS itself, right? The generated information. But you don't want to store like API keys or anything like that in the app. Just URLs and stuff that can be read by other people, right? Another option would also be to obfuscate the APK and the IPA. That way, like, even if someone grabs it afterwards, they won't really be able to see it all. I don't know if it would obfuscate the config files though. I haven't tested out.
You can encrypt your config files. Like, eventually, if somebody wants your client ID, client
secret, some things that you need to do off the handshake.
Mhm.
You have to ship those with your app. There's no way around it. So somebody wants that bad enough, they can get to it.
Mhm. However, it can obfuscate, right? It's
Makes-
good
makes it
practice.
harder, Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't make it bulletproof. If a person is smart enough or hacky enough, they could eventually reach those things. But then there are other ways to work around it, right? I don't know.
A web
To
service.
block.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you could be able, you should be able to block.
That's why you should never connect to databases directly from mobile phones. You always
Yeah.
have to have a web service.
Exactly. That's why you always have to have like a web service, right?
Yeah.
They'll handle all that for you.
Or an Azure function.
Yeah, or an Azure function. Yeah. Yeah, guys. So this is it. I hope it was informative. If you need if you have any doubts, you can always reach out to me. I have, like I said, a blog post about it, and this is all open on GitHub. Like you can access the build pipeline, the release pipeline. You can see it all, right? You have access to the YAML. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Choose a display.
Get started.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Saamer Mansoor. I work as a mobile developer, and I subcontract essentially. And oh wait, camera's here. Hey, everyone online too. So, so as you subcontract or if you consult or contract, one of the huge advantages of working in a company like Psi Labs also is that you are trusted as someone who has a lot of knowledge, who is proactive. You are given more responsibility, and so you get to do a lot more as a developer compared to the others. So they try and push other people to do some random generic stuff, but then they get you to work on newer features, spikes, things that they want to see if they can implement in their company. And one of such spikes got me into learning about Apple's Business Chat. And Apple's Business Chat, back when it came, was really massive in the WWDC. It was released in iOS 11.3, so it's been quite a few years now. And so why was it so big? One of the main reasons for it to be big was that it was basically promising a lot of companies a great improvement in their customer service. You guys might know that there's a lot of studies done about great customer service. There was a study done by American Express in 2017, and they were like, okay, we found out that 51% of customers decide to switch whatever their subscription they have for an alternate just because of one bad experience. And so having a great customer service experience is massive. And as you know, a lot of companies have been moving towards the Eastern countries, outsourcing and things like that, and that has significantly reduced their customer service. And so Apple introduced the concept of Apple's Business Chat as a great way to use what people already love doing. As you guys know, millennials, we hate talking to people on the phone. We hate staying in line. We hate going to the office, sending an email, none of that. But we love texting. We text all the freaking time. And so they were like, why don't we bring in texting into customer service? And we'll not just bring it in, we'll make it the best sort of customer service. If you go to an office, the person at the shift, he may or may not know you, but with this system that they implemented called Asynchronous Chats, the person who is trying to help you will know the history of your conversation. They will put notes about what this person had last asked for, what problems has he been having, how was it solved. And as you can see over here, when you chat with that person, you know what problem you're having, and so you don't have to describe the entire problem again. And that person also knows the entire problem, and so he doesn't need you to tell him everything again. So over here, he says, hi there, can you tell me how many awards points that I've got? And then, welcome back, Dan, I'm Laura. Yes, I can tell you, one moment. So Laura is a different person. There's hundreds of customer service representatives, but she was like, welcome back. It's like, okay, I don't know you. My name is Laura, but you've already asked for help before. Let me tell you in a moment. And so she says, after your last stay, you now have 10,000 reward points. So she knows that person had stayed, and now she knows, something different's happening. Hello, can you tell me if that's enough points for one night at your hotel? Even though there were 3 days in between, and he's not even said hello over here to that person. he's not even courteous. He's just like, I don't even care what your name is. You know how many reward points I have. Can you tell me if that's enough points for to stay at your hotel in New York City? And so he says, welcome back. I am Tom today. And what date were you looking for you to stay? So it really tried to revolutionize customer service. And so when you guys go back, you guys are, essentially consultants in a way for your companies. When companies are looking for solutions, you guys have another solution up your sleeve. You guys are innovative, essentially. You guys have another solution for a problem. And one solution that Apple at least believes is pretty solid. So some administrative details. Apart from the code, what do you need to get started with Apple Business Chat as a company? So if you are consulting for Rogers is like, hey, we need help on our mobile app, and you're like, sure, I'll do that. And then you overhear your director who's signed you up saying, oh yeah, we have a lot of issues. And then you take your director to the side and you're like, hey, have you heard of Apple Business Chat? And you know everything behind it also now. So what does Rogers need to do in order to get started with Apple Business Chat? All they have to do is go online, search for Apple Business Chat registration. You can watch a video. The video will probably be helpful for you guys. I can show it to you guys. Or maybe we'll get to it a little bit later though, if we have a lot of time. And you have to apply for this program essentially, because everyone just does not get accepted. They are trying to start with the biggest names first. And Rogers will definitely get selected because of its name. Once you hit apply, you put in all your information, sort of like Google Maps. If you guys have ever added a location onto Google Maps, similar to that, you just add in all that information, and then if you notice on the top over here, it says your profile is ready for review. So you put in your logo and some random information like that. You can't really do it for Rogers. Like, this is probably stuff that Rogers has to do it themselves in their marketing department. And then you submit and then they essentially submit that application for review. Once you complete the application, they also have some other required fields that you fill out while it's on review, and you have to have your point of contact, the technical contact in the company, and the big names. What is the total live agents that you guys have at any time? What business hours do you guys have live chats? Because for example, if you don't have any people working after 6 p.m., so you can actually put that in, and Apple will have a really beautiful way of telling them not to. And we'll go over that in a little bit. But one of the other major things is customer service platforms. So there aren't that many customer service platforms, but the majority of the customer service platforms are covered. So if you just Google Apple Business Chat, customer service platforms, most likely the company that you're working for, if they have customer service and they're using a customer service platform, it will definitely be listed in one of those customer service platforms. Yeah, there's a list that you can find, and you can see, and they keep changing it, so any list that I would have would probably not be up to date. So what are some entry points for companies for customer service? Obviously, they can go to the website, they can find help. Like there can be a link on the website that says, oh, go to the App Store, you can, find an easy way of paying your bills. You can call them directly, you can send an email, QR codes. Like there's a lot of different ways already that companies are able to provide customer service. And one of the new ways that Apple's introducing is chat with messages, or this is essentially Apple Business Chat. So not many companies have it, but the number is growing, especially in the United States. The number is really high already. You essentially have it anywhere on your web page, on your mobile app, and it just says chat with messages. Obviously, it's only applicable for iOS. It's not applicable for Android. And so you just tap on it, and it will automatically get you to a text message. And sometimes it can even pre-fill the message that the person wants to send. So it makes it super fluid, beautiful experience, and definitely great opportunity for companies. So if you search, who has an iPhone over here? All right, who has used an iPhone over here? Ever in their lives? Okay, so if you look over here, when you're searching for stuff, even if you don't have the app installed, you can search for Discover. Discover is like Visa, MasterCard, American Express. So you just search for it, and even if you don't have it installed, it'll give you an option to send a text message, which is pretty weird if you think about it. You're sending a text message to a company, but it's amazing at the same time because that's what we love to do, send text messages. So you tap on the text message and you just say, hey, and they text you back. You don't even have to say anything else. It is like very, very cool and unique. Yes?
Did you send that text?
No, I did not send that text. Okay. But we will send a text message actually today. So you say, hi, Discover, and they respond to you. And if you tap on Discover, and this all populates by itself. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to install the app. It automatically comes here, and as soon as you text them, the picture of this changes, and we'll look at that as well. It's really beautiful user experience. Say, hi, Discover. You get a response. If you tap on Discover, it'll show you all this information. It shows you what their chat hours are. So you remember how you put it in and you said that you're only available between 9 to 6 p.m.? So it'll even tell you what days of the week and everything that they're available. And it'll even tell you how often they respond. So usually it responds in a few minutes. So very, very nice. And especially for some telephone companies, I used to have this telephone company called T-Mobile, and they still have the same feature. So you just, tell them, hey, I was over. So I try to call them. They have 45-minute wait time. And so I was like, okay, forget about it. And I realized that they have a text messaging option through Apple Business Chat. I text them and I'm like, why was I charged $20 more this time? And then it goes through the entire thing. So very, very cool. And they responded to me after 45 minutes over text, but it was still great because I didn't have to stop doing my work, put my phone on my ear, put it on speakerphone, put my earphones. It was very, very fluid. And so this is one aspect of Apple Business Chat, and the second aspect of it is that they have an app on iPhone and Android, but on their iPhone part of their app, they have a button inside that says chat with messages. So people essentially, if they tap on it, it goes directly to their messages, and they just have to click send, and it will send whatever message they want. So in terms of coding it, because developer time is very expensive, especially if a company is paying, a contractor or a consulting company, they're paying maybe $150 to $200 an hour. So implementing a support functionality is very, very complex from ground up. And implementing it, a lot of companies like Zendesk, for example, very huge in customer service, they will have libraries that you can use and implement. It takes a while, but then if you're using Xamarin, you have to bind those libraries because they don't have bindings for those libraries. Zendesk does, in case anyone, but there's this thing called Zendesk Chat, which is for customer support essentially. That does not have bindings for iOS. So it's very, very painful, and it can really be avoided just by placing a button. And we'll see how easy it is in code to just place a button. Okay, so this is basically samples of how it can be used. And so the company that I was working at, when they saw how easy it was, they were like, okay, there's no way we're going to go through the whole binding process and go through that heartache. Instead, let's just use this. This is so simple. We'll just work with our customer service provider, CSP, and we'll try to implement it. So one of the other amazing things with Apple Business Chat is that you can also use the whole chatbot functionality with Apple Business Chat. So as soon as you send them a message, they can respond even with options for payments. And so they're like, okay, which one would you like to purchase? Especially 1-800-Flowers, they have the functionality of, you can just make the purchase right over there. And, it'll be in the video. So wide-scale adoption, this was in 2018. All around the world, if you just search for Burberry on your iPhone, it'll have the chat option. You can chat with them. In the US, as you can see, all these companies were there in 2018 that were already using Apple Business Chat. And this is only the ones that these guys searched for. It's probably a 2017 list, but they published this in 2018. And Canada Snap Travel, I haven't heard of them. Anyone heard of Snap Travel? No. They apparently have Apple Business Chat as well. So what does the code look like? And so there's two ways of implementing Apple Business Chat. Whoever here has done a little bit of Xamarin Native or Xamarin iOS, including Xamarin Forms with native custom renderers? Just a few people? All right. So if you've done Xamarin Native or if you've done Xamarin Forms and just use custom renderers, you can. It's fairly simple. This is a view controller, which is like a page on any other, in Xamarin Forms, it'll be called a page. But in iOS, a page is called a view controller. So this is all the code that is inside a view controller. So inside the view did load lifecycle function, we have, we just set the title of the page, we set a background color, and then there are two ways of implementing Apple Business Chat. You can either implement it into any simple button, or you can use their Business Chat button, with a cool logo and everything. or you can just have like a normal button that just says here, and it will still work for it. So in the first instance over here, we try to use the BC chat button, which is that fancy looking button. And the other instance, we just use a simple UI button, which is a button control in Xamarin Forms. So all we said is, okay, the button is a new BC chat button. We added a frame. We added touch. We added the touch function. We assigned the touch event to this function over here. And we added another button, which is just a regular button. And we just said, okay, as soon as someone taps on it, open this URL in a browser. So fairly straightforward, and then we just added the two buttons inside the sub v. Super straightforward. So also I have this code and this example on my GitHub. So just github.com/SaamerM, and then you just search for business chat, and you can find this example. And it's linked to the slides, and it's linked to video, whatever. So really quick. This is our app that we made using this code over here. As you can see over here, there's that BC chat button. Ooh, why is it shaking? Is it shaking or is it just me?
Or somebody's tap dancing upstairs.
Oh, okay, I was like, wait, earthquake? Okay, so the button over here essentially is the BC chat button, and this is just a regular button that we added the event to. So I found the link, the details of this bank called Buddy Bank. And so I hooked it up to where if you tap on it, you can actually message Buddy Bank. So I just say testing, and they respond to it, and they're just saying, okay. So it's basically a Spanish bank. And there are just these people on the other side who are just responding. Yeah. Essentially, like, I got their code from CodePen. For whatever reason, they put their secret. And so I was like, okay, And so, and they're pretty quick to respond. So you'll notice how when you tap on it, you type a little bit, but there's nothing that comes on the top of the screen. And I'm going to play the video just now. But as soon as you hit send, it changes the color of this automatically, and it puts a check mark to say it's verified, so that no one actually scams you.
So it's working like through text messaging then.
Yes, exactly.
SMS.
Yeah, iMessage.
It's like iMessage. Yeah, exactly. Very, very cool. So. Okay, so over here, if you guys can watch the video, I basically just tap chat with messages in a few seconds. Notice how there's nothing on the top, it just says new message, and then I'm going to hit send, and it actually changes the color. And now I hit the info button on the top right, and it opens this up, and then you tap on that, it shows verified, usually responds in a few minutes, and it gives the phone number and everything, all the details. Very, very cool.
Do you know if it's a chatbot or if it's someone?
So it is always someone,
Okay.
but you can attach a chatbot to it using the customer service platform.
Okay.
Depending on the customer service platform that you use, you can attach a chatbot to this, and so it, essentially responds, automatically. So you don't even need people there. So this is just authentication for the chat. So now the question is, okay. Clearly you don't need an app for this. You can just get a link and spawn a chat. Essentially, you don't. It's just basically a URL. You're opening it, and it takes you to the Messages app. And so, do you need an app? Yes, you do. For what purpose? For authentication. So we still have our jobs. It's good. Job security is always good. So if, for example, T-Mobile wants to implement this feature, and they're like, and I'm like, oh, I have problems with my with my bill, and they're like, okay, sure, I don't know your account number, but that's never the case. They'll just tell you to log in to the T-Mobile app, and so as soon as I log into the app, the app automatically sends all the information required using this authentication to basically authenticate my user and tell the chat that I am who I am. Essentially, it says, okay, this person is Saamer. He's using this phone, it's essentially like an OAuth. You use your phone, all that stuff. So basically, you need to have a customer service provider, like I said. So you need to check out if they are eligible with Apple Business Chat. So one of the customer service providers that we used was called ASAP. They were a really beautiful office in New York City in the Freedom Tower. But essentially, you can send a picture off your modem, and they're basically able to respond back to you. And it basically says that, hey, Apple Business Chat is applicable, is compatible with their systems. Really cool for companies. Wait, we're not done yet. So looking at the code now, I'm going to go back, and I basically started a new solution. You just basically file a new solution, and you just go to iOS if you're doing iOS native. Come on. Yeah, single view app. So I started with a single view app template, and then I basically created it, and then I went to the app delegate file. I commented all of that app delegate file code out, and I said, var view controller equals this custom view controller that I'm creating, and I created a navigation view controller for whatever reason. I don't even know why I did it. Let me just. Okay, let me try this now. And as you guys can see, I'm using QuickTime Player just to mirror this. I don't think it's recording anything right now, but it's building. So I basically said my custom view controller, I created an instance of custom view controller. I said that my root view controller is this new custom view controller, and that's all I did over there. That's all the changes I made. And then I went to my new custom view controller that I created, and the code that I showed you over there about the view did load and the touch function. So it's basically just that I added onto here. And if you look at this, whoa, that's insane. I was just testing this an hour ago and it wasn't working, so it's working now.
It's the opposite of what happens to everybody else.
Yeah, look at that. Okay, so there's two. I was actually not going to focus on this because I was like, okay, it's not working. Let me not show it anyway. But there's two different styles of these buttons as well. So let me expand the screen size. Are people going to be able to see my screen at all?
Yeah, it's
okay, perfect. So let me increase size. I created a new instance of BC chat button, and then it asked me to pass in the style. So if you look at it, it says, okay, there's two different constructors. One is coder, just like everything else, and then there's the BC chat button style. So I say BC chat button style, which is an enum, and there's two different styles. So I just did dark. I'm going to show you guys what light looks like. And stop and start. So, man, this is crazy that it's actually working. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Okay, it's still building, so we still have a few seconds. But this is essentially the URL, or here. This over here is the URL that you can put inside your browser. and if any iPhone is opening that URL, it'll say, hey, do you want to open that in messages? Come on.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yes. But did you guys see how I got here? That's the important part. So all I did, create an instance, set root view controller is this instance, and now I am going to show you guys my screen. Okay, it's still the dark for whatever reason. So this is supposed to be basically the light version of it. Maybe I have to rebuild all, clean my cache. But notice how when I tapped on it, it opened my messages directly. Do you guys see that? Mm-hmm. Now I hit cancel. I'm gonna go back over here. I'm gonna hit click me, and it basically does the same thing. Now let me show you guys another cool thing. So instead of just this blank stuff, wait, what is it adding? So it basically only does this for now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make it instead. Here. So if you've done chatbots or if you've done Amazon Alexa, you know that one of the things that these customer service or these intelligent robots like to work with is called intents. So if the intent is for equipment, it'll go through the equipment intent. If the intent is for let's say billing, then it'll go through the billing intent. So it knows what the intent is, so then it can respond to you with that specific intent. And in the group, which department you want the person to go through. You can basically funnel the people out that way. One last change I'm going to make is instead of saying this, comment this out, uncomment this, save, and keep this. Oh, I see. I was adding 2 events to that. Okay. Okay. I'm building it.
What color is your button going to be this time?
It's supposed to be light. I don't think it's going to be light. See, it says light over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. Probably it's not going to be though. Come on. Oh. There we go. Yeah, it's not. Anyway, so I'm going to hit click me, and it basically loaded without the text this time. I'm going to say, notice over here it says Buddy Bank, and it's not really, it doesn't have the verified check mark. So I'm going to say test 2. Hey, oh, my bad. You guys are awesome. No, I mean, they're Spanish. They probably will have to translate it.
Yeah.
Just say test. Oh, no, how do you say hello from Canada?
Hola.
HOLA
Hola. De Canada?
DE Canada. And the little flag.
Yeah. Did you guys see how the color changed? And
Yeah, they put the branding on.
Yeah, and then I tap on the information icon. It shows up over here.
It almost launches in like a modal too when you first launch it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. And then you can just tap the button on the top left, and it goes back to the app. Lastly, I'm just going to show you guys. Are we going over time? I hope not.
You're okay.
Yeah.
The cool thing is that, like, since it's SMS, you don't have to have the app open, right? Like, you don't have to store and you have to do anything. It's just like text messaging, right?
So if you
Yes.
respond back, you just get a notification.
Yeah, you get a notification,
Yes,
right?
exactly. So easy for everyone to implement. Everyone in the whole, it's so easy for every single step, every single layer to implement flowers.
Unless you're on Android and then.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Do you know if there's any service like this in Android?
I know that there's no service like this in Android.
Okay, yeah. Damn it, Google.
Yeah. it is a pain to implement customer service. If any of you have tried to implement customer service into an app, it is a pain. And I mean, you'll think that it's as simple as creating a chat app, but it's really not, because there's different people who can pick up queues and things like that. Come on, give me a video. Yeah, like Home Depot has it. Wait, let me see. I really want to see the flowers. Yeah, basically, I don't think I'm gonna get the video. Wait, let's one last try. Business chat register. Watch video.
Introducing Business Chat, a better way to make meaningful connections with your customers. With Business Chat, it's easy for customers to get in touch when they need you, and you can help them with everything, all in one message conversation. Have real interactions with your customers while answering their questions. Help them learn more about your products and link them straight to the information they're looking for. Your customers can always come right back to chat again. And with long-lived sessions, you'll be ready with their information. So it's easy for them and easy for you. If customers already have a product in mind, they can make their purchase right in the message conversation with Apple Pay. Integration with Apple Pay means customers can pay securely with just one touch.
So that's Christmas things. Like, that's it, done.
They can also come
So
back later
simple.
to track their orders.
And your order number.
All of this in one place.
Wonder how much I
With Business Chat, your customers can easily find you. From Safari, Spotlight, Siri, or Maps, you're just a touch away. So everyone can enjoy faster, seamless, more personal interactions. Every time. Visit us to learn more.
Alright, that's all I have. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Saamer. Awesome as always. I don't know what we're doing there. Bumping, not bumping. Okay, just a couple of things to close it out here. I think we can shut down the stream here, Emily. I think we're good.